the sun's a little brighter, where the snows that fall are a trifle whiter, where the bonds of home are a wee bit tighter.
Hello friends, we went on an adventure, a really cool adventure, up to the mountains. I love mountains. We had to go help a friend pick up a medical grade exercise bike. It's for rehab on legs, knees. So along the way, we stopped and saw some stories. One was about Estelle Philleo, 1881 to 1936. And this is her little book. It's by Noli Mummy. She's a famous author and poet. She lives in song. Colorado cabin stands on the hill, above the town so silent and still. Her ashes lay under the old pine tree where she wrote the songs of the West Country. In her heart the melodies found rest, for she loved the saga of the West. And she put to music many a theme, bringing song from the realm of dream. For those who like the people and land, in a cadence that all could understand, words and melody that seemed to blend, in the warmth of a true and loyal friend. She of the East gave to all of her best, writing music and songs of the glorious West. Now, gone from the midst of the busy throng, she will always live in Western song. By Noli Mummy. Estelle Arnold Philleo, Setting the West to Music, 1881 to 1936. In the heyday of Mill City, which had its beginning in the early 1860s and grew into a booming, rip-roaring town of 5,000, with many characters to play the various roles upon the frontier stage, not one outstanding individual emerged from all of those who came from various states to claim their share of wealth hidden in the earth and nearby streams. During the hectic days of the Civil War, mines were abandoned and the town stood with many deserted houses perched upon the hillside along the clear, winding stream. Then came a short revival of mining, followed by depression, and again many people left. A few years later, John M. Dumont opened new producing mines. The post office reestablished in 1880 and the name changed to Dumont, Colorado. A few years after the turn of the century, there came to this quiet little town a very demure, ambitious person who started setting the West to music. She composed music and songs and gave to the world a fine collection, which emanated from the heart of one who loved the country, with all of its scenic wonders, its people, and all its inanimate attractions, which to her were living things. She saw beauty in the streams, the rugged mountains, the blue sky, the trees, the log cabins, and all of nature with which she was in commune. Not much is known of her early childhood days, except that she was born in Ohio in 1881, reared on a farm in Michigan, came to Dumont to visit her sister, and remained in the West, captivated by the spirit in the form of song and music that will never be forgotten. When she was a small girl in pigtails, she had visions of composing music. She began her career by writing and selling little songs for school operettas and music for a few dances, creating a fund for college. Much is to her credit for the ambition of wanting an education, which she helped finance by coaching students English and Latin. She supplemented by doing other work, such as running an elevator during the evening and trying to study during the lull in traffic, or sorting the laundry for girls in the dormitory who did not have to worry about doing things for themselves. Such was the spirit and ambition of Estelle Philleo, who knew what it was to work her way through school. Graduation was a big day, followed by a journey west, where she was imbued with friendliness and inspired by the beauty of the rugged Rockies. In appearance, Estelle Philleo would give one the impression she was a person who would write fluffy melodies of sentimental songs. Her soft brown eyes and deep olive skin created a picture of ruffled lace and soft silk. The deep femininity of her nature seemed more like a gift from the stars, which lighted the empty sky on a dark night. Estelle became a children's piano teacher and had a studio in Denver where she taught the Melody Way, a new method of learning the piano developed by W. Otto Misner of the Misner Institute of Music in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. During her vacation, she began traveling over the state and caught the theme of the mountains, the brightness of the sun, the blueness of the sky into her imagination, which turned her thoughts to the creative spirit of the West. World War I interrupted her musical career. She was a volunteer Red Cross worker in France. When she returned to the United States, she gained some recognition from the National Education Association for her method of teaching music to children. She worked, taught, and hoped for a great future. A realization of her fondest dreams was to compose songs and music. Her first triumph came when she set Arthur Chapman's poem, Out Where the West Begins, to music. Miss Philleo was a music critic on the same paper with Arthur Chapman, but her introduction to the poem was on a postcard from a friend in Arizona. The poem was printed without any identification as to the composer, and it was some time after receiving it before she learned the author was working in the same office. She had a desire to write the music for this great tribute to the West. Mr. Chapman gave his consent. The song was first published privately in 1917. It was published in Chicago, where it was given national publicity. Out Where the West Begins became the official song for all returning Westerners after World War I. The song spread all over the country. It became the #1 hit of the day, and the returns to her were gratifying. Miss Philleo's muse for composition was awakened by the poem, and the music was written to fit the words. On being interviewed about the composition, she said, "But somehow I felt it was nothing at all, so I put it away, where it waited until the time was ripe for the market. Then one day I got it out, and a friend urged me to send it to the publishers. I did, and that's the story. A Song of the Nation grew out of the poem, which was set to music in 1915 and published in 1917. Out Where the West Begins was sung at many important affairs, and Estelle appeared personally on a number of occasions, such as the Victory Dinner of the Rocky Mountain Club at the Waldorf Astoria, the Review of the Covered Wagon at the Fairmont Hotel, the American Legion Convention at San Francisco, a meeting of governors at Cheyenne, Wyoming, and the International Rotary Convention at Denver. She appeared at many other important gatherings and never refused a request if it was possible to carry out the assignment. Evan Williams, the Welsh tenor, sang Out Where the West Begins at the dedication of the organ in the Denver Municipal Auditorium on March 21st, 1918. Estelle Philleo became acquainted with famous artists and writers, which gave her an opportunity to come in contact with many people who loved the West and expressed their fondness for it in their own way. Some of these people provided lyrics for her. The Spirit of the States was written in 1917 during the hectic days of World War I. While Estelle sat at her studio window watching marching soldiers going down to Michigan Avenue on their way to France, the rhythmic thump-thump of hobnailed shoes gave her the melody for the march. It was published in 1919 by the author and composer and was used extensively over the country. It was played in Philadelphia during this sesquicentennial exposition. Estelle was asked to go to New York to help welcome the returning servicemen at the Rocky Mountain Club. This gave her the idea of giving concerts. They served a purpose and were well received by enthusiastic audiences. The program consisted of piano solos by Miss Philleo and vocal numbers by other artists. That's her by her favorite tree, in Dumont, Colorado, where now she is laid to rest. In Estelle's last days, she never concerned herself with affairs of the state or nation. Her one great privilege was to write some of the nation's most thrilling and delightful songs. Setting the West to music was her theme. Lost in her art, she was unaware of any financial remunerations. Her returns were meager, yet she was grateful for publishers' royalties, which afforded her a few of the necessities of life, especially when the time came that she was not able to teach, her health and income gone. Little did the public realize that with so much music in her soul, she would ever need or become a victim of a hopeless disease. Funds were needed for the care of this great woman, a distinguished artist and composer. When this fact became known, many organizations grouped and gave a benefit performance in a talent parade at the East High School Auditorium in Denver, Colorado on November 27, 1935. The end came for Estelle Philleo at the age of 55 of cancer. She died on Friday evening, March 20th, 1936, at the home of her sister, Miss Helen Weston, in Evanston, Illinois. At her own request, her body was cremated and the ashes brought back to Denver by Victor Tizak on April 11, 1936. Services were held on the porch of the cabin in Dumont. Some of the children she had taught sung Colorado Cabin. A large boulder with a plaque under the old pine tree, which is still standing, marks the final resting place of a great, noble person who had music of the West in her soul. Estelle Philleo belongs to the immortals, and she will always live in the hearts of those who know and appreciate the West. Love and light to Estelle. And thank you to Noli Mummy for writing a little book of her life.
Out where the hand clasps a little stronger, out where the smile dwells a little longer, that's where the West begins. Out where the sun shines a little brighter, those that fall are a trifle whiter, where the bonds of home are a wee bit tight, that's where the West begins. Out where the skies are a trifle bluer, out where the friendship a little truer, that's where the West begins. Out where the pressure breeze is blowing, laughter in streamlets flowing, where there's more of reaping and less of sowing, that's where the West begins. Out where the world still is in the making, where pure hearts in despair are aching, where the West begins. There's more of singing and less of sighing, there's more of giving and less of buying,